Hi everyone, this is Lara Hammock from the Marble Jar channel. And in today's video, I will tell you the two words that a lot of therapists love to use that I actually hate, particularly in the context of relationships. And the two words are need and hurt. So I'm doing an intensive training in couples therapy, and it's really clarifying for me where relationships start to break down. And this pertains to relationships of all sorts, not just to romantic relationships. Now, this might be a controversial take, but there are a couple of words that many therapists encourage their clients to use that I absolutely detest. The first one is need, as in, I really need this from you, or I need you to do this for me. What people really mean is, I want this from you, or I want you to do this for me. So first, let me tell you why therapists and clients really like the word need. Two of the most important skills that we should learn are A, figuring out what you think, feel, want, believe, desire, and then B, communicating that to someone else, like your partner. Both of those things can be challenging for some, but the second part, communicating to someone else, can be especially challenging, particularly if you were raised in a home where the emphasis was on being nice and going along to get along. It makes it very hard to say what you want without seeming selfish, greedy, or strident. As a result, therapists and clients have both adopted the word need simply because needs are easier to ask for than wants. A want is a preference or a nice to have, but a need is a requirement, something essential to being or to living. For example, I need you to spend more quality time with me. That somehow feels less selfish than asking for a want. After all, it's a requirement, right? And for me, that's exactly the problem. When you communicate what you think, feel, want, believe, desire to someone else, and you talk about those things as needs, it comes across as a demand or an obligation for your partner. If they don't do what you ask, they aren't satisfying your needs. They are all of a sudden responsible for taking care of your needs. And because of the inherent pushiness of that demand, it is naturally going to make your partner defensive and resistant, which is not a great way to start a conversation where each party is being heard and considered. And if you're having a hard time with this, just think about your most annoying friend and how it would feel if they approached you with, I need you to call me more often than you've been doing. That reaction you just had, that's what I mean. So before I go on, let me clarify that there are some situations where the word need is appropriate. One is between a child and a parent. Parents are responsible for taking care of the needs of their children, both physical and emotional. Also, in a work situation or any situation where there is a clear and appropriate power differential, needs a reasonable word to use. But in the context of friendships, adult family relationships, or romantic partnerships, I think we need to normalize asking for what we want. Full stop. If that feels scary, it may be that you didn't feel worthy of asking for those things that weren't absolutely essential when you were a child. But you are worthy, and you should be able to ask for your preferences, your wants, and your desires. If your partner doesn't want to do those things, well, then you have a choice about whether you're willing to accept that or not. Or perhaps it'll prompt a good conversation about why, for example, spending more quality time together is important to you, how you have been feeling, and how that might help you. All of this discussion is much more likely to happen if you are talking about wants rather than needs. Okay, the next word I hate is hurt, as in you hurt me, or I was so hurt. So this word is nearly omnipresent in therapy jargon because it satisfies the I statement maxim, which holds that in order to have a constructive conversation, you have to use I statements rather than you statements. So instead of saying, you called me an offensive name, you would say, it makes me upset when you call me an offensive name. Why? Why do we have to use I statements? Because if you start a conversation with blame and criticism, which are inevitable with you statements, it is just not going to end well. So instead, we start with how we feel, which is a softer start and is more apt to produce positive results. Here's the problem with using the word hurt. I think it is simply a blame or criticism masquerading as an I statement. Think about it. It doesn't actually tell you anything about how the person's feeling, just that they are wounded. And there's no sense that that wound would ever be like self-inflicted or passively received. In fact, it's pretty much accepted that the wound was perpetrated by someone else. And that someone else is almost always the recipient of the statement. So I was so hurt is just a passive way of saying you hurt me. And what does hurt mean in terms of how the speaker is actually feeling? Sad, left out, anxious, angry, worried? We have no idea. It would be so much better just to dig a little behind that hurt and figure out what you're actually feeling, and then start the conversation with that actual feeling rather than with some statement that means nothing and just serves to piss off your partner, friend, or family member. And again, if you're having a hard time getting a sense of this, just imagine again your most annoying friend sending a text message that says, "When do you have time to talk? I was really hurt by something you said yesterday." Tell me if that doesn't make all of your arm hairs stand up. If what you really want is to have a productive conversation, stop using the word hurt in your I statements. And that's it. Let me know what you think. Comments are always appreciated, and thanks for watching.